learning one of the most important, one of the most basic concept of a computing system, that is data deletion and recovery. While we'll be understanding like how a data gets deleted and what happens when we delete a data, and what are the possible ways to recover a data the moment we delete it from our system. Okay, so before that, we'll be understanding that whenever we store data in a computer system, it basically gets stored in the format of bits, that is zeros and ones. Okay, so the moment we store any data, let it be your music files, or let it be your documents, let it be softwares, or let it be programs, whatever you store, it gets stored in the format of zeros and ones, that are binary digits. Okay, so the moment you deleted data, or the moment you deleted data, you have two possible ways: either to change the bits, that is zeros and ones, or the second possible way is to free that particular location by saying that particular location is freely available for other data, so that we can store the data that we want. Okay, but the first possible way, which I've already said, is to change the binary digits of each and every file, will or can be complicated at times, or will definitely require much more time if you compare it with the second case. So what I was saying is that, for example, you have a song. Okay, let's say the name of the song is abc.mp3, abc.mp3. Okay, so if you want to delete this song from your system, so the possible way to delete the song from your system is to change the binary digits of each and every files, for this particular file. Like, let's say the particular file has the following binary digits: 01010, following binary digits, that is 101010 and 01. Okay, and if you want to change the binary digits of this file, then this can be changed as follows. Okay, let's say if we want to change the value of each and every bit. Okay, so let's say here we have total how many values: 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9, and you want to change it to 0. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. So you can see, so the moment I put zeros for each and every bit, automatically the value gets to 0. That means we have already deleted it. But if I perform this deletion in this way, where I have to change the values of each and every bit, in that case it is going to take a much longer time. But can you imagine that how many bits we are exactly going to have a song which is of, let's say, 100 MB, or let's say 50 MB, or let's say 60 MB. So if you have a song of this that much MB, and if you want to change the bits for that particular song, that you can just imagine the number of time it requires. Okay, so this is a task. Let's say I am giving a homework to each and every one of you: how many MB, like let's say how many bits we have for a song which is of 50 MB, which is of 50 megabytes. Okay, we have a song which is of 50 megabytes, and we need to change that bits of each and every bits of the particular song. Okay, that's it. For 50 megabytes of song, what time is required to change, or how many bits do we have for the 50 megabits song? Okay, 50 megabyte song, just give me that. Okay, so this is a homework for each and every one of you. Like, what is the number of bits that we have for a 50 megabyte song? Okay, just take it and as a homework. Okay, so this is the problem that we are going to have in case if we start changing each and every single bit. Okay, so instead of changing the bit, there is one more possible way to do the deletion, as so that we won't take much longer time to perform that. So the step that we are going to follow, or the step that computer follows the moment we perform deletion, is as follows. Okay, for example, you have a song abc.mp3 in the memory location as follows. Okay, so this is the memory location, or the memory address, file name, and this is the address. Okay, this is the file name and this is the address. So in this particular file name is stored in this particular address. Okay, so this is the file name and this is the address which is stored in the file name. Okay, so there is a separate table that we have. This table, what it is going to do, it is going to keep the memory address and the status of the memory address. Okay, address, let's say m address and status. Okay, so let's say for this address says that it is occupied. Let's say O stands for occupied and F stands for free. Okay, so you can see this particular memory address is shown to be as occupied. Okay, let us use color codes so that you can understand. Red means it is occupied, and if you have green, it means that it is free. Okay, so if we have red, it means that it is occupied. Okay, so this memory address is occupied. Okay, and if we have green, it means free. Okay, so we have one more file, this bbc.mp3, stored in a separate memory address. This is stored in this memory address, and for this memory address also you're getting the same color that is occupied. Okay, now let's say we have let's take an example of one student. Okay, Rishi Saikya, we have Rishi Saikya. This is the situation for Rishi Saikya. This is the situation for Rishi Saikya. Now Rishi Saikya is bored with the song bbc.mp3. So what he wants to delete the song, that is bbc.mp3, from this address. So the moment he hits the enter, or so the moment he hits the delete command, or the moment he hits the delete button, so what the system is going to do, the system is going to change the status where the particular song bbc.mp3 is stored to free. And as I said, green stands for free. Okay, this moment, the moment Rishi Saikya deleted the song, the actual song is not deleted from the system. Only the status, only the table which is storing the status of the particular memory address is set to be as free. So that the moment Rishi Saikya wants to store cc.mp3, please remember cc.mp3, it will say that this particular location is free. So it will say this particular location is free, and you can use this location to store ccc.mp3. So Rishi Saikya will store the song, or the computer of Rishi Saikya will store the song ccc.mp3 in this location, because this location was classified as free location. Okay, since this location was classified to be as the free location, that this is the only reason why Rishi Saikya is able to store the song in this particular memory address. So whenever we delete a particular file, or whenever we delete a particular object from a system, the exact data doesn't get deleted. The table which is storing the data, or the table which stores the status of the data, like where the particular file is stored and what is the status of that particular address, that status changes to free. And the moment the status changes to free, we are able to overwrite, please try to understand, we are able to overwrite the bits. We are able to override the bits, because bbc.mp3 is going to have a separate configuration of bits, ccc.mp3 is going to have a separate configuration of bits. So the moment the status changes to free, we are able to override the existing bits. Okay, so if the entire concept of data deletion is clear, please type 1 in the chat box, like how the data deletion happens. So whenever we delete a file, what exactly goes in the backend? So we have our files that is stored in a separate component. Okay, and there is one more table which stores the status of the files, like with respect to the corresponding memory address, that is that particular memory address is free or not, that whether that particular memory address is occupied or not. So whenever we delete it, the changes that happens is basically with this particular table which stores the status. This status changes to free whenever we delete it. Okay, so whenever we get the status to be as free, what we are going to do is we are going to override the data for that particular memory address. Okay, so this was how the file deletion occurs. Like whenever we delete a file, the overriding of bits happens, and instead of changing the bit manually, what we do is we change the status of that particular address, that we change the status from occupied to free. And yes, the moment we get the status to be as free, we are good to go with the overriding process. Okay, so this is what exactly happens whenever we delete a file. So what happens if you want to recover a particular file? So let's say accidentally Rishi Saikya deleted the file bbc.mp3. Now Rishi Saikya is desperately wanting desperately wants to recover that particular file. Okay, so is there any possible way to recover that particular file? The answer is absolutely yes. There are possible ways to recover that particular file, and that possible way is to go to that particular location and fetch that particular file. Instead of coming to this table which is storing the status, which is just storing the status, what the Rishi Saikya can do is go to that exact physical location where the file is stored. Instead of coming to this particular status table, Rishi Saikya needs to go to this particular table, particular location where this exact file is stored. So from that particular location, Rishi Saikia will be able to fetch the file which has already been deleted. But what if after deleting, Rishi Saikia has stored some other files, and Rishi Saikia suddenly recalls that the file has been accidentally deleted. Okay, now Rishi Saikia wants to recover that particular file. So that in that case, it will be a little bit difficult, or let's say in some cases it won't be possible to recover that particular file because already the bits has been overridden. Okay, so if the recovery concept is also clear, please type R in the chat box. If you want me to explain it once again, please type N in the chat box. Students, if the recovery concept is also clear, please type R in the chat box. If you want me to explain it once again, please type N in the chat box. Okay, so let us try to understand how the recovery method works. Okay, in a better way. एक स्टोरी के फॉर्म में समझते हैं. ओके, दिस इज मिस्टर ऋषि सैकिया. Okay, he's happy because he doesn't know that his file bbc.mp3 got deleted accidentally. Okay, he's happy as of now. ठीक है, तो ये जब भी सॉन्ग प्ले करने की कोशिश करता है या फिर प्ले करना चाहता है, तो वो क्या करेगा, बाय डिफॉल्ट उसके जो सिस्टम है, उसका सिस्टम उसे इस पर्टिकुलर टेबल के पास रिडायरेक्ट कर देगा. ओके, इस पर्टिकुलर टेबल के पास रिडायरेक्ट कर देगा जहां पर बताएगा दिस इज ऑक्युपाइड, और फिर ये टेबल मैप्ड रहेगा इसके साथ और पर्टिकुलर सॉन्ग को फैच करके ऋषि सैकिया को दे देगा. ओके, ऋषि सैकिया को गाना मिल जाएगा. पर अचानक से ऋषि सैकिया का जो है मूड चेंज होता है और वो चाहता है कि वो कुछ अलग टाइप का गाना सुने. ठीक है, एंड दैट पर्टिकुलर सॉन्ग इज bbc.mp3. let's say bbc.mp3 is going to store some motivational song. Okay, this is a motivational song. Okay, now Rishi Saikia wants to motivate himself, now therefore Rishi Saikia wants to listen bbc.mp3. Okay, so अब क्योंकि ये ऋषि सैकिया का रिक्वायरमेंट चेंज हो चुका है और क्योंकि ऑलरेडी ऋषि सैकिया ने गाना डिलीट कर चुका है, तो ऋषि सैकिया क्या करेगा उसको पता नहीं है, लेकिन ऋषि सैकिया क्या करने वाला, वही स्माइलिंग फेस लेके इस टेबल के पास जाएगा. बट अभी जब टेबल के पास जाएगा, टेबल बताएगा इन दिस लोकेशन we are having ccc.mp3. In this location we are having ccc.mp3, so that's why we'll be playing ccc.mp3. Okay, अब ऋषि से क्या पैनिक कर रहा है कि एग्जैक्टली bbc.mp3 गया कहां, तो उसने हेल्प लिया रिकवरी टूल्स का, रिकवरी सॉफ्टवेयर का, कि अगर गाना गलती से डिलीट हो गया तो हम लोग XYZ रिकवरी सॉफ्टवेयर का हेल्प लेने वाले. तो रिकवरी सॉफ्टवेयर के पास गया. अब रिकवरी सॉफ्टवेयर को पता है कि हमें इस टेबल के पास नहीं जाना है, ये टेबल धोखा देते हैं. ठीक है, हम लोग क्या करेंगे, डायरेक्टली इस फिजिकल टेबल के पास चले जाएंगे या फिजिकल लोकेशन में जाएंगे जहां पर एग्जैक्टली उस पर्टिकुलर एड्रेस में गाना स्टोर है. ओके, इंस्टेड ऑफ गोइंग टू दिस यू वेंट टू दिस. ठीक है, तो बात कुछ इस प्रकार का है. लेट्स से तुम लोग अपार्टमेंट्स में रहते हो. ठीक है, हर एक अपार्टमेंट में एक सिक्योरिटी गार्ड रहता है जिसके पास एक रजिस्टर रहता है, कौन से फ्लैट नंबर में, कौन से रूम नंबर में कौन सा आदमी रहता है, उसके पास डेफिनेटली एक रजिस्टर रहता होगा. ओके, सो ही मेंटेन्स दैट पर्टिकुलर रजिस्टर. सो whenever a person will go, let's say I want to meet XYZ person, so that particular security guard will tell, okay, he or she lives in this particular room or particular apartment or particular block, you can directly meet him in this particular block. Okay, so what if instead of going to that security guard, you are just going to the exact location or exact room where the person is stored. So in case let's say ऋषि सैकिया ने अक्षत से 100 रुपए उधारी में लेके रखे. ठीक है, अब अक्षत क्या करेगा, ऋषि से सैकिया से पैसे लेना है और सिक्योरिटी गार्ड के पास गया, उस अपार्टमेंट के सिक्योरिटी गार्ड के पास जाके पूछा, सर ऋषि सैकिया कहाँ रहता है. तो सिक्योरिटी गार्ड, ऋषि ने ऑलरेडी सिक्योरिटी गार्ड को कह के रखा था कि अक्षत नाम का एक बंदा आएगा, उसका फोटो वोटो भी दिखा दिया, इस बंदे जैसे ही ये बंदा आता तो कह देना कि मैं घर में नहीं हूँ. तो उसका जो सिक्योरिटी गार्ड था, सिक्योरिटी गार्ड ने कह तो दिया कि नहीं ऐसा नाम का कोई बंदा रहता तो है नहीं, बट अक्षत भी ढीठ है, अक्षत को पता है कि नहीं ये झूठ पक्का से कोई ना, देयर इज सम गिमिक ओवर देयर. तो अक्षत क्या करता है, सिक्योरिटी गार्ड का बात बिना सुने डायरेक्ट घुस जाता है अपार्टमेंट में और डायरेक्टली ऋषि सैकिया का उस पर्टिकुलर ब्लॉक में चला जाता है और रूम में चला जाता है जहां पर ऋषि सैकिया रहता है. ठीक है, सो रिकवरी सॉफ्टवेयर इज गोइंग टू डू द सेम थिंग. इंस्टेड ऑफ गोइंग टू दिस पर्टिकुलर टेबल, Rishi Saikia will directly, Akshat will definitely go to that, or the recovery software will go to that physical location where the particular file is stored. So if If the file is not overwritten by some other files, then definitely this recovery software recovery software is going to fetch that particular file and is going to recover it for you. But what if जैसे ही अक्षत जाता है ऋषि सैकिया के फ्लैट के पास, पता चला उस पर्टिकुलर कमरे में कोई और ही रहता है, तो in that case Arman won't be able to meet Rishi Saikia. Similarly, if the file is already being overwritten by some sort of other files, in that case recovery is not possible. Okay, recovery is only possible if the file has not been overwritten by some sort of other files. Okay, स्टेटस फ्री तो कर दिया, फ्री करने के बाद तुरंत उसमें कहीं कुछ स्टोर नहीं करना है. रिकवरी तभी पॉसिबल है whenever we have deleted some sort of files, but we have not installed or we have not stored something in that particular location. So if we store, after deleting, if we store something in that particular memory space or that particular memory location, in that case recovery or the chances of recovery becomes challenging, and in some cases it becomes very difficult. So that's why it is not possible to recover if you store some sort of data after deleting the data, after deleting the existing data. Okay, so if you have deleted something and you want to recover it, please don't store anything, or please don't make any changes. Just try to install the recovery software and try to get the recovery as soon as possible. Okay, so if you take time and if you keep on storing data, and within after a certain period of time you realize that your file has been deleted, and at that moment of time you want to recover it, so that becomes challenging, and in some cases it is not even possible, because in that particular location you don't know that where your song is stored in your song is stored in which memory address. That memory address must be occupied or must be overwritten by some sort of other data. So in that case, in recovery is not possible. Okay, so if the concept of recovery is clear, please type R in the chat box, those who have typed N, in case you have learned something. Okay, so this was all about data deletion and recovery. Okay, so now let us try to understand the concept of softwares. Okay, softwares being one of the integral part of a computing system, and one of the most basic stuff to work with a computer. Although it is one of the basic thing, but it plays a lot of role in the backend. And also softwares can be classified into multiple types. Okay, based on the functionalities, based on their performance, based on the requirement, and based on their yes, as I said, functionality, they can be classified into multiple types. Okay, but before that, why do we need softwares? Okay, as of now today, we all know that what exactly softwares are. Softwares are basically the combination of logics or programs which work together to solve a particular problem. Okay, but why do we need softwares? Okay, as we know, softwares are the logical instructions. Okay, softwares are the logical instructions, but why do we need instructions? First of all, let us try to understand that. See, whenever we have hardware, so that we can use that hardware, in order to use that particular hardware, we'll be definitely requiring a tool so that we can control that hardware, and that particular tool is basically the software, because with the help of the softwares we'll be able to control that hardware we want. Okay, with as per as our choice. Okay, so merely if I say this is the motherboard of, let's say, one of the most best laptops that you have, but here you won't be able to install any software. Or here, if you even if you try to configure this with an external hard disk drive, and if you want to install a software over there, it won't support. Okay, so will that hardware or will that motherboard will be of any use? Let's say the motherboard which I have made is of gold. Okay, complete gold. And if I say let's perform some sort of logical operations, or let's perform some sort of task using that particular hardware, will that be of any use? The answer is no, that particular hardware won't be of any use with respect to computation. हाँ, वो बात अलग है, if you want to sell that and if you want to make money because that is made up of gold, that is something else. But if I ask you to perform any computational task, in that case that won't be possible, because that hardware is not going to do any kind of task, because it doesn't support softwares. It doesn't support softwares. Therefore, for each and every hardware, in order to function, in order to make them functional, we need a very good software, or we need softwares. Okay, so in order to use the hardwares, or in order to enable our instructions, so that the computers or so that the systems can understand our instructions, we need softwares, because interaction just with the hardware is not possible. In order to interact with the hardware, in order to give the commands to the hardware, in order to use the hardware, will be requiring softwares. Okay, so softwares can be classified or can be categorized into the following types: system softwares, programming tools, and application softwares. So these are the major classification which can be made. System softwares, by the name itself, we can understand that those softwares which helps to run the system. Okay, so whenever you want a particular system, if you want to operate a particular system, in that case you will be requiring system softwares. So what are the best examples of system softwares? Any operating system that you have, the Windows 10, Windows 7, Windows XP, Windows Vista, Mac OS, or Linux OS, CentOS, Kali Linux, Backtrack, or any operating system you see. Okay, so you will be using that operating system to control that particular hardware or to manage that particular hardware. Okay, so all those management of hardwares are basically done by the operating system. So operating system is that particular software or system software. Under the system software, we have the operating system as that particular software which helps us to run the system. Okay, so if we need to run the system, we need a classification of software, we need a separate type of software, that is the operating system. So operating system is that software which helps us to manage the hardware. Okay, which helps us to manage the hardware and also provides us the interface to interact with the hardware, and also provides us the interface to interact with the hardware. And if we talk about system utilities, system utilities are those softwares which helps us to maintain or manage the hardware efficiently. Okay, the correct word is maintain, which helps us to maintain these hardwares efficiently. For example, let's say you are using a computer system. So in due course of time, you get your let's say you get unwanted junk files generated. First thing. The second thing is there are also possibilities you connect some external devices whose details are not stored in that operating system. For that, you will be requiring a system utility software. Let's say for an instance, let us take an example. Let's say you have a microphone and you want to use that microphone with your laptop, and the moment you plug in the microphone, you need a particular software, so that particular software can recognize or can tell the operating system that this is a microphone which you have installed. And Mr. Operating System, you need to understand that we are using such kind of configuration with the microphone, and please allow us to use the microphone. So in order to tell the operating system, or in order to blend, or in order to integrate the external microphone that we have connected with our system with the existing operating system, we will require driver softwares. Okay, so yes, drivers are required, so that whenever we connect external devices or external hardwares, our system can recognize those hardwares, and yes, they can allow us to use those softwares. Okay, under the category of system utility softwares, you can see that we have antiviruses, disk cleaners, disk compression softwares. So these are some of the utility softwares that we have. So in case if you have any queries from system softwares, like system softwares are those softwares which helps us to maintain the system, and it can be classified as operating system, system utilities, and device drivers. And yes, if we talk about the operating system, operating systems helps us to manage the physical hardware that we have, or also provides us the option to interact with the hardware. System utilities, those softwares which helps us to maintain the hardware. And device drivers is that particular software which helps us to integrate or blend the hardware components that we connect to the system externally. Okay, so that the operating system can understand what kind of component that we are exactly connecting with the operating system. Okay, so in order to blend or in order to integrate our external devices or other devices that we want to connect, let's say printer, writing tab, microphone, webcams, pen drives, whatever we connect, okay, we will be requiring device drivers for that. Okay, so whenever you install or whenever you insert a pen drive, you will be seeing that there is some sort of processing that goes for a few seconds, because the moment you plug in, within 1 second, it is not possible for your system to recognize that particular pen drive. Okay, so it will take 2 to 3 seconds. After 2 to 3 seconds, a pop-up will come that this is your pen drive. If you want to open, you can open. In the period of 2 to 3 seconds, what it is doing, what the operating system is doing, operating system is trying to find the suitable driver for that and install that particular driver, so that the pen drive can be recognized. Similarly, this goes with the other hardware that we connect with our system. Okay, so this was all about system software. If the concept of system software is clear, please type SS in the chat box. Okay, so the next category of software that we have is basically the application software. So whenever we talk about application softwares are those softwares which helps us to use additional applications or additional tools along with the basic softwares that we have in order to run our systems. Let's say let us take an example of this browser, okay, that we're using. This is Google Chrome that you can see over here. So in order to browse the web, will be requiring some sort of other applications, although we have a default browser that gets installed with our system. And yes, along with that, if you want to install a separate browser, that is possible. So this kind of tools or this kind of softwares are basically the application software. That means these are not the primary softwares which are required to run the operating system or to in order to run the system. So these are the softwares which you install as per as your need, which you install as per as your need. So if I say how many of you have installed, a software, let's say, which helps you to recognize, which helps you to recognize. Let's say, okay, let's take a basic example. How many of you installed a video editing software in your system? Just type. Okay, just raise your hands. Okay, so we can see 1 2 3 4 5, we have 5 students who have installed video editing softwares in this system. Okay, not everyone has installed, because that might not be the requirement for you to use your laptops, because we can't expect each and every student have, sir, it is already there in Windows. No, if you talk about basic video editing softwares are there, but if you talk about complex editing softwares like Adobe Premiere Pro, okay, or let's After Effects, so those tools are not installed. So by default those tools are not installed, and those two tools are probably not installed in every user's system, because users, they don't require the software. Or how many of you have installed Photoshop in your system, Adobe Photoshop? Let's see. Okay, Rahul Lamba is there, Sarat Chetia is also there. Okay, so there are 2 students who have installed Photoshop in the system. So Photoshop may not be the preference. Okay, Rishi Sekia is also there. So Photoshop may not be the preference for you, because you're not interested in photo editing. Now, how many of you have installed Adobe, let's say Adobe Illustrator, those who are interested in vector graphics? So see, these tools or this software depends upon the usability. Or if I say how many of you installed Adobe Audacity, or yes, that tool is basically this. Oh, sorry, Audition, Adobe Audition. How many have installed Adobe Audition or Evernote or Android File Transfer, Corel Draw? Okay, so that depends upon the usability. So if you are interested or if you want those tools, so you will be installing. So this is not the mandatory requirement, like in order to use the operating system you will be requiring this particular software. No, so that's what we call to be as the auxiliary softwares. Okay, auxiliary softwares or the helping softwares, because on top of the system software there are few softwares which will help you to get your task done in an easy manner. Okay, in an easy in an easy manner. So in order to do that, or in order to perform that, we'll be using the application softwares. So that application softwares can be classified into 2 types: the general purpose software, and the next one that we have is customized software. So in case of general purpose software, we have the softwares which are developed generally for every people. Okay, let's say Google Chrome. So if you talk about Chrome, you can see these are the options that are available. The same option can be made available for you as well. Okay, because Google Chrome is publicly available for everyone, and yes, it is made in such a way that every user will be having the same interface. Okay, so these are the general purpose softwares. General purpose softwares are those softwares which are made for the generalized people. Okay, which are made for the generalized people, keeping in view that how people will interact with the software. Okay, it's not that you're getting the options of Google Chrome like this, or you have the URL bar on top. For me, Google Chrome has designed the URL bar in the sideways, so that is not possible. So Google has made the browser in such a way so that it becomes a generalized software for each and every people. Okay, but what about the customized softwares? Okay, so if you talk about the MS Words and all those are basically general purpose software, because the options that you see for MS Word is the same option that we will be getting for my version as well. Okay, but what about customer software? The best example of customer software is our APS Digicamp. Okay, so if you go to the APS Digicamp, so you can see that this Digicamp is specifically meant for Army Public School Jorhat. Okay, so what if I want this APS Digicamp to get integrated or to be used in some sort of other schools? In that case, the model will be completely different. So this kind of softwares won't be able to we won't be able to implement this kind of softwares in other institutions. Okay, although yes, if you do some sort of changes, that is possible, but directly we cannot use this tool with other schools, because these are customized for some sort of specific organizations. Let's say if I want to use this in some sort of higher institutions, let's say in a college or in a university, then definitely there are some sort of changes that needs to be done, because this is specifically meant for Army Public Schools. Okay, so this type of tools or this type of softwares which are specifically meant for a particular requirement or for a particular group of people are basically the customized softwares, because those softwares has been made for a specific category of people. So we can't expect this APS digicam to be used globally. Okay, like every people or every institution is using this digicam software. They can use, but yes, definitely there are some sort of changes that needs to be done, because this is customized for this particular army public school. So I hope you have the idea of customized software. Customized softwares are those softwares which are meant as per which are made as per as the user's requirement. Okay, like which color you want, which kind of requirement, which kind of module you want, which kind of feature you want for your software. So all those softwares are known as the customized softwares, and general purpose softwares which are made for the general people, or every person can use it. Okay, so this was all about application software and system software. Apart from that, we have one more concept of that is proprietary of free and open source. Proprietary softwares are those softwares for which we need to buy license, or for which we need to pay some amount to the provider, service provider, so that we can gain access to it. And the best example of proprietary softwares are basically the Windows and the Microsoft Office, as well as the Mac OS. All these are the proprietary softwares. So if you talk about free and open source, so yes, if you talk about free and open source, those softwares, these are those softwares which are freely available along with their source code. Okay, yes, and there are two things if you understand very carefully. One is freeware, and the other one is free and open source. Free and open source is that software where you have the source code along with that software. Let's say, let us take the example of Mozilla, okay, Python. So all this come under the category of free and open source. But what about freewares? Freewares are those softwares which are freely available, but source code is not available. The best example is Google Chrome. Google Chrome is freely available. It is freely available to download. But if you talk about the source code, if you talk about the logic that has been written for the Google Chrome, that is not available publicly. Okay, so this is an example of freeware. And the best example of free and open source softwares are Python, LibreOffice, OpenOffice, Mozilla Firefox, and yes, all these are the examples of free and open source softwares. Okay, as well as Linux, we have Linux is also an example of free and open source software. So that's it, all about the softwares, the hardware components, and the different type of softwares that we have.